I'm6K, this is Undead, and today we're going to be talking about Mekk-Knights. Before we get into the video, be sure to go ahead and check out our last video if you're interested to learn about how to play Salamander Code Talkers. Alright, so Mekk-Knights, it is one of the best decks in the game and has been for a little while now, but in case people don't know how to play it yet and they want a guide, that's what this video is for. So the Mekk-Knights are a series of light psychic monsters that all have the same special summoning condition of if two or more monsters are in the same column, you can special summon this card from your hand in that column. If you're not sure the difference between a column and a column is a vertical line and a row is a horizontal line. Since this special summoning condition does rely kind of heavily on our opponent, Mekk-Knight decks are usually going to have some ways of fulfilling the condition themselves. Since the extra monster zone can contribute to a column, we can summon an extra deck monster to that zone and set a back row in the same column, and then we'll have an extra deck monster and a back row in the same column, so we'll be able to special summon one of our Mekk-Knights without relying on the opponent. Before I get into the actual effects of the Mekk-Knights themselves, what is the win condition of this deck? Essentially trying to set up a World Legacy secret. It is a continuous trap that says when this card is activated, you can target one level 5 or higher monster in your graveyard, special summon it. And when this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. But while it's on the field, negate any opponent's monster effect that activates in the same column as a Mekk-Knight monster you control. So, in all columns, we want to have a Mekk-Knight, so if our opponent wants to activate any monster effects, they will be negated. But how exactly are we going to get to that? Well, we have the Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star, which is a Link 2 monster that requires any 2 monsters, including one Mekk-Knight monster. And if this card is Link summoned, you can discard a Mekk-Knight or World Legacy card to add any World Legacy card from deck to hand, and that includes the World Legacy secret. It also has the bonus effect of if your Mekk-Knight monster battles a monster in a different column than it, your monster cannot be destroyed by battle, also you take no battle damage from that battle. So our main goal is to summon this, discard any Mekk-Knight or World Legacy card to search for World Legacy secret, set it, and resummon one of our Mekk-Knights on the opponent's turn to negate their effects. To make it easier for us to go into a Link 2, we also have the Swap Cleric. You can just normal summon this, and if this card is sent to the graveyard as Link material, you can have that Link monster lose 500 attack, then draw 1 card. So we can normal summon this and turn it into a Link Disciple, have the Link Disciple lose 500 attack and draw cards. We'll have a Link monster to use for the Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star, and we'll also have drawn a card. And because we summoned a Link Disciple, all we need to do is set a back row, and then we can special summon any of our Mekk-Knights in that same column. But we won't always have the Swap Cleric, so we also have the Mekk-Knight Avram. This is the other normal summon of the deck that we happen to be able to search for. This alongside any of our other Mekk-Knights will also make the Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star. But how exactly are we going to search for the Mekk-Knight Avram? We've got a couple of search cards in our deck, the most important of which is the Mekk-Knight Purple Nightfall. It is the standard Mekk-Knight summoning condition. It also has a quick effect that you can target a Mekk-Knight monster you control, banish it, and if you do, add a Mekk-Knight monster from your deck to your hand except the Mekk-Knight Purple Nightfall. And then on your next standby phase, it will come back to your field. So you can use this to banish itself to search any Mekk-Knight that you happen to need. You could search for the Mekk-Knight Avram to normal summon it to make it easier to go into your Morning Star. But you could also search for Mekk-Knight Blue Sky. Mekk-Knight Blue Sky is the standard Mekk-Knight summoning condition, which I'll stop mentioning now. And if this card is normal or special summoned from the hand, you can add Mekk-Knight monsters with different names except for itself from deck to hand equal to the number of your opponent's cards in this card's column. So if your opponent has a back row in the same column as this, when you summon it, you search for 1 Mekk-Knight. If they have a back row and a monster in the same column as this card, when you summon it, you search 2 Mekk-Knights. And if they have an extra deck monster in the extra monster zone, a monster in that same column, and a back row in the same column, Blue Sky will search for 3 Mekk-Knights. Usually, we only need 1 search, however, it can be very nice to get multiple. And the Mekk-Knights that Blue Sky is going to be searching for might be a copy of Avram to help us go into Morning Star. It could be a copy of Yellow Star or Red Moon, which basically have the same effect. To banish a Mekk-Knight monster, to target back row in the same column and destroy it in the case of Yellow Star, and a face-up monster in the same column as Red Moon in the case of Red Moon. And then we have Mekk-Knight Indigo Eclipse, which has the quick effect to target any Mekk-Knight monster you control and move that target to one of your unoccupied main monster zones. The Indigo Eclipse can be great because you can summon it in a column that has 2 cards in it, and then you can move the Indigo Eclipse and summon another Mekk-Knight. Also during the opponent's turn, if we have a Legacy secret and an Indigo Eclipse on the field and they want to activate an effect, in a column that we don't have a Mekk-Knight in, we can use the Indigo Eclipse to quick effect move one of our Mekk-Knights into that column, so that effect will be negated. We also have the World Legacy's Memory. It's a quick play spell that allows you to special summon a Mekk-Knight monster from your hand or deck in defense position, but return it to the hand during the end phase. And for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except Mekk-Knight monsters. So if you don't have Purple Nightfall to get your play started, you could summon the Purple Nightfall from your deck and banish itself to get your searches going. But if you have any non-Mekk-Knight plays that you need to do, make sure to do that first and do the World Legacy's Memory afterwards, because you will be locked into Mekk-Knights for the rest of the turn. And of course, since we do want to play our own back row to help fill our columns, we got Book of Moon and Paleozoic Canadia. You can definitely go ahead and play whatever back row you want. These are just the ones that I think are best for this deck. Instead of the Swap Cleric, you could also play Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. You won't draw a card like Swap Cleric, however, when you use it as link material, for the Link Disciple, you can special summon it to your opponent's side of the field in defense position, and it also has the continuous effect that you cannot special summon monsters except Link monsters. So you can use this as material for the Link Disciple, give it to your opponent, and then when it comes around to your opponent's turn, they will not be able to special summon unless they get rid of the Ibli somehow. That Ibli combo is definitely very cool. However, the Swap Cleric helps us dig into our deck a little bit more, makes us more consistent, and is good going both first and second. I also play the Nightmare Unicorn and Borrowlord Dragon to help get over problematic monsters. They're usually for the follow-up play if we want to get around the opponent's floating effect, or if they are indestructible, or if they have any other kind of protection. Borrowlord Dragon can get rid of things that cannot be targeted by attacking them, and then non-target moving that monster to a zone this card points to. And Borrowlord Dragon himself cannot be targeted by monster effects, so that's also kind of nice. So we have a couple of level 8s in our deck. We do play the Galaxy package of being able to go into a Galaxy Cypher Dragon, rank it up into a full armor to pop one face-up card, then rank that up into a Cypher Blade to pop any card. These are all just options you can play. At the end of the day, I'm not here to tell you how to build the deck, I'm just here to show you how to play it. So let's get into the combo tutorial, shall we? So in your opening hand, you pretty much want one of two things. You either want to have a Purple Nightfall or a World Legacy's Memory to summon the Purple Nightfall. Technically you can play without these, however you are still going to want to be able to get a couple monsters on field to be able to summon your Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star. So if you already have the Mekk-Knight, it's perfectly fine. So if you already have the Mekk-Knights and ways to summon them, that's perfectly fine. And again, just to know what you need in order to get that combo off, all you need is a Purple Nightfall or a World Legacy Memory in your hand, or a way to get two monsters on the field including a Mekk-Knight and have a card to discard for the effect of Morning Star. But it can be a little bit harder going first, so let's get into the combo for going first. Going first here, activating the skill Ancient Gear Castle. Generally speaking, if we're going first, our opponent's not going to control any cards, so we're going to usually put them in either the far left or the far right zone. I'll just put it in the right because that happens to be my habit. And you know, we already have the Purple Nightfall, however we don't have column set up, so we can't summon that Purple Nightfall. Thankfully, that's what our normal summons are in the deck for, and also that's what our World Legacy's Memory is for. We can just summon the Purple Nightfall using the World Legacy's Memory without needing to worry about columns. Thankfully here we do happen to have a normal summon. Like I said, it is a little bit harder to get the combo off going second, but if you happen to have any normal summon, then you'll be fine, and that being Mekk-Knight Avram or Swap Cleric. So I'm going to normal summon that Swap Cleric because it is better than summoning Avram. Then we're going to link it off into a Link Disciple. If you don't already have a Mekk-Knight in your hand now, hopefully the Swap Cleric will draw it for you. So let's see what we get. Yeah, we got a Canadia. It's good to draw back row too. We already had the Mekk-Knight, so it's perfectly fine. So I'm going to summon the Purple Nightfall here. And if you have to choose between World Legacy's Memory and a Purple Nightfall, I usually go for the Purple Nightfall because it doesn't lock me out of anything. Also, if we don't happen to need to discard that World Legacy's Memory, we can always just use it as a follow-up play. So I'm going to use that Purple Nightfall. And I'm always going to use the Purple Nightfall regardless, because I'm still going to be able to summon something to this column here, and on my next standby phase, Purple Nightfall will be able to come back, so that's just added benefits for free. So the Blue Sky doesn't really do anything going first because it only adds cards from our deck to our hand if the opponent has cards in their columns. They don't, so usually what I do here is I search for an Indigo Eclipse. And I'll explain why I go for Indigo Eclipse later, but I'm going to special summon that Indigo Eclipse, then I'm going to go into my Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star, making sure to always maintain our columns here, right? Then we're going to use the Mekk-Knight's effect on summon to discard a World Legacy or Mekk-Knight card. I'll discard that Mekk-Knight card to search for the World Legacy secret as always. then we can simply set our back row and end our turn. And then we can see what we do on the opponent's turn. Just for the sake of the lesson, I'm going to activate the World Legacy Secret here and revive the Mekk-Knight Indigo Eclipse. The reason that I search for Mekk-Knight Indigo Eclipse is I can summon it to any zone, right? But if the opponent wants to activate an effect in any other zone, then I can just use my Indigo Eclipse quick effect to move the Indigo Eclipse itself into the column of the card I'm trying to negate. Here, because I activated it prematurely, I'm going to be negating his Balinx, not his Gazelle. It doesn't matter though, you're going to be a lot smarter about it when you're in your actual combos. I'm just doing this to show you what you can do with the Indigo Eclipse. Since I'm going second, the opponent controls a card in one of their columns. I decided to put my Ancient Gear Castle in the same column as that card. So then I could summon my Indigo Eclipse to this column, then use its effect to move it to another column, then summon this one, and then I would have access to my Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star. If I didn't have the Indigo Eclipse specifically, maybe I have the Avram. I summon that Avram and then I can use both of them to go into the Morning Star. This deck does have a lot of ways to get into that Morning Star. However, if you don't, then of course you are going to be using the World Legacy's memory. Summon the Purple Nightfall from the deck. Then if you have other monsters, you can special summon them, and if the opponent wants to interrupt you, you can use your Purple Nightfall to banish that monster instead of itself. However, let's pretend we don't have the monsters in our hand, so going to use the Purple Nightfall to banish ourselves. And usually search for Mekk-Knight Blue Sky. Blue Sky is pretty much the easiest way to go into Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star, because if the opponent has a card in a column, then we can special summon in that column, and then it will activate its effect to add Mekk-Knights from deck to hand equal to the amount of cards they have in their column. So I already happen to have a Mekk-Knight Avram in my hand, and this is what I would be searching in order to get that playoff. So I don't have the Red Moon, I might as well search for the Red Moon, right? But just pretend I'm searching for the Avram here and I already had the Red Moon instead. So I'm going to summon it, and then I'll be able to go into my link to Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star. And then on summon the Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star, we'll discard either a Mekk-Knight or a World Legacy card. I'm going to discard whatever I have and search for the World Legacy Secret. And the World Legacy Secret, as I said before, is basically the win condition. I do happen to have other Mekk-Knights in my hand, of course. I can just special summon the Indigo Eclipse, use its effect to move it to another column, right? So that way I can summon my other Mekk-Knight. Then I can set a back row and in my turn. And here I actually already have a Mekk-Knight in every column. And then I also have the Mekk-Knight's continuous effect that if my Mekk-Knight monster battles an opponent's monster in a different column than it, my monster cannot be destroyed by that battle. So if they want to destroy any of my Mekk-Knights in battle, not only do they have to be bigger than my Mekk-Knight, which can be pretty difficult as these guys are pretty chunky, but they also have to have it in the same column. So if they have a 2100 beater in this column or this column, neither of them will be able to destroy my Morning Star or do damage to me. And if they have a 2400 beater in this column or this column, they won't be able to destroy the Red Moon. And if they have a 2500 beater and they have it in this column or this column, then they won't be able to destroy the Indigo Eclipse. But the other nice thing about Indigo Eclipse is if they want to destroy one of my monsters, I can just use the Indigo Eclipse to move the column of that Mekk-Knight so that it wouldn't be destroyed and I wouldn't take that damage. But yeah, basically the main win condition we have here is to activate World Legacy Secret, maybe revive a Mekk-Knight if we have it, and then we'll have a full field of Mekk-Knights. All of their monster effects will not be able to resolve on the field. So normally after the going first combo and going second combo tutorials, I have a third combo to show you what you can do when you brick, but realistically, the only brick in this deck is having too many back row, and you don't really need a combo tutorial for me to tell you how to set back row. And generally speaking, if that's your opening hand, then you have a pretty good chance of top decking into a play starter, which will get you the Purple Nightfall, which will get you the Blue Sky, which will get you the Avram, which will get you the Morning Star. The deck is pretty simple once you know how to operate it. I'd like to say though about Yellow Star and the Red Moon that their effects are not actually once per turn. So a cool thing that you can do is if your opponent protects their monster, you can activate it again. Same thing with Yellow Star. Another cool thing you can do is you can use the Indigo Eclipse to move your Red Moon or your Yellow Star to another column to then use its effect again to pop another card in a different column. But you are going to have to be smart about where you place your Indigo Eclipse itself, because of course Indigo Eclipse cannot move one of your other cards to the column that itself is in. But of course there's no substitute for experience, so let's show you the real life gameplay. So I'm going to use the skill here going first against, I think, Dark Magicians. I'm going to put the Gear Castle in this column here, right, because I could summon a Link monster here potentially, then have my column open. Then I'm going to use my World Legacy memory to summon a Purple Nightfall from the deck, which is going to target itself to banish itself, to search a blue sky. I've easily searched for Avram in this situation, normal summoned Avram, but the thing is that I wouldn't have been able to turn it into the Imduk Link monster because World Legacy's memory locks me into Mekk-Knights for the rest of the turn. So I was not going to be able to get my Link play off regardless. So here I just search for the blue sky and I set my back row and hope to survive, which I'm pretty sure I'll be able to because I'm pretty sure the opponent's only playing Dark Magicians. So I was right here, they're just playing Dark Magicians, not that big of a deal. They activate their circle, set a couple back row, I'm completely fine. The Purple Nightfall brings itself back and I bring it back in the column that has the least cards, just in case, because I already have a column. I already have a card in this column. I already have a card in this column. He already has a card in both columns too. So I'm going to summon a blue sky. It doesn't matter which column I summoned it in, but I'm going to summon it because they have a card in their column. I'm going to be able to search. They use a navigation. They don't want me to Link summon, but it's completely fine. I haven't actually used the effect of Nightfall this turn yet, so whatever they target, I can just use Nightfall to get rid of it and get another search off. So I'm going to search for Red Moon, because I already have the yellow star, right? He's going to use his circle, because a Dark Magician was summoned, to target my blue sky, thinking that it prevents it. It doesn't. But anyway, I'm going to banish it using the Purple Nightfall and get myself an Avram to normal summon. I'm going to normal summon it, then I can go into my Link summon of Morning Star. Then I will discard my Indigo Eclipse. It's always great to discard Indigo Eclipse because it's the best card to re-summon off of a secret if everything else gets blown up. Then I'm going to special summon a Yellow Star, banish the Avram from grave to pop this card here. It's just a Monster Reborn, it was a bluff. I'm going to special summon Red Moon, banish another card to get rid of this. Then I'm going to go into Unicorn, get rid of his Dark Magician. Then I'm going to have Lethal on board, set my Legacy secret in case of a Kite Rod or something, and that's GG's. So I'm going second here against Commander the Doom King. I have a starter in hand, and a normal summon is going to be completely fine for me. So yeah, they're going to use their contract, search for Armageddon, use the skill, set up their scales, pendulum summon for 2, and they'll have their protective field. Summon Tomplins will destroy his card to summon another Armageddon. Then he's going into his Xenophon the Sky Prison. This one detaches a material to make itself indestructible and prevent both players from special summoning from the graveyard. So it's a pretty decent turn 1 rank 8. Also gains 100 attack for every card in both players' graveyards, for every monster in both players' graveyards. But I'm going to use my Ancient Gear Castle, put it here. This column already has 2 cards in it, so I'm making it so that this column will also have 2 cards in it, so I get that versatility play. Anyway, I'm going to use my World Legacy's memory, special summon a Purple Nightfall. Purple Nightfall will search for a blue sky. Blue sky will be summoned here because this column has 2 cards. The blue sky will be able to search for 2, so I'll search for yellow and red. Then I will special summon the red, normal summon the Avram, link these 2 off into a Morning Star. Morning Star doesn't need to discard because I already have the secret. Then I'll special summon the Indigo Eclipse, and I will move the Indigo Eclipse itself so that I can special summon the Yellow Star now. Yeah, I'm going to use the Yellow Star to destroy his contract and the Red Moon to destroy his Armageddon. And of course, that makes this guy indestructible, and I can't go into Nightmare Unicorn because I've already used the memory, and memory locks me into Mekk-Knights. However, I do have the Canadier to interrupt him, and I do have the World Legacy secret to negate any monster effect he tries to activate. And I also have the Morning Star to prevent any of my monsters from being destroyed by battle and prevent myself from taking any damage. So what can he do? So he summons a Kepler. In response, I'll just World Legacy secret. I don't actually have to revive anything to use it. He's going to use the Sky Prison, and it's going to be negated because I have the World Legacy secret on the field and it is an activated effect, so it doesn't matter. And he's just going to end his turn. He thinks I can't out him though. He is destructible. Technically speaking, if I were to destroy him, I could do it. However, I could just link off into a Nightmare Unicorn, discard the card that I drew, shuffle it into the deck, and attack for game, but he scoops it up. So I'm going first here, so I'm going to put the middle-aged mechs in this column. Then I'm going to normal summon swap Choleric, link it off into a Link Disciple so I have my column set up. I'll draw a Book of Moon and I'll special summon a Purple Nightfall, which will banish itself to search for a Indigo Eclipse. Indigo Eclipse is always great. because it's great to revive, right? Then I'm going to use the Mekk-Knight of the Morningstar, discard the World Legacy memory, search for the secret, set a couple of back row, and end my turn. So I don't have a whole field of Mekk-Knights here, but I technically will be able to negate whatever monster effect he activates, because I already have a Mekk-Knight in this column. I can resummon the Purple Eclipse to this column or this column, and if they activate an effect in another column, then I could always use the Indigo Eclipse to move it to the other column, right? So he's going to use this. He's going to be playing Yosenju's pretty annoying stall deck, really. He's going to normal summon his monster. He's going to normal summon his monster. I'm going to use my World Legacy secret, revive the Indigo Eclipse into this column so that Yosenju Karma 1 is negated. It will try to return itself to the hand on the end phase. It will still be negated using the Legacy secret. So the Purple Nightfall will come back, and then I'll summon another one and try to attack for game. But he does have a Chiroid, so he's going to be able to protect himself. However, I still have the World Legacy secret. There's really no way that he can come back from it. So it's cool that he has a Kaiju to get rid of my Purple Nightfall, so he can activate and resolve effects in this column. But I still have a Book of Moon, so it's not really going to mean anything, right? Going to Book of Moon it, and yeah, he's going to scoop it up. So that's how you play Mekk-Knights. You really only need one copy of each Mekk-Knight, except for the Purple Nightfall. You are going to be able to search for them pretty much every game regardless. Like I said, there are other options you could play. You could play the Ibli if you wanted, and if you were to play the Ibli, you could also play the Nightmare Mermaid, which requires a Nightmare summon. You could go into your generic Link 2 Nightmares, then use one of those to go into your Link 1 Mermaid, discard a card, and special summon the Ibli from the deck, then link them off into whatever, and then give the Ibli to your opponent. So that's a cool play you could do. However, that does require quite a lot of card advantage just to prevent your opponent from special summoning, and that's not even always good. But you can definitely build the deck differently if you like. If you have any questions about the deck, or you're unsure about something, be sure to leave a question in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer you. Let me know how you feel about the Mekk-Knights.